3 years ago, this company did the unthinkable. They closed their office and they went 100% remote. How did they do it? Find out on this episode of What the Tech.
You're listening to
What the Tech.
Welcome to the What the Tech podcast, where we talk about business and office technology and put our 20 years of expertise to discussing trends and issues impacting the workplace.
This podcast is brought to you by Global Tech Worldwide, your technology office experts that's been around for 20 years, providing trusted, personalized office IT solutions. Check them out at amazon.com/TECK. That's amazon.com/TECK.
Still paying for slow, outdated business internet? Why would you do that? Everything is so expensive in 2022. Well, listen, you might not realize you can go to circuitloops.com, instant quotes to easily compare with what you're paying for and find the upgrade that's right for you. It's that easy. Go to circuitloops.com.
Hi, it's Ro over here.
Hey, and I'm Dave on this side. And listen, thanks for joining us on What the Tech. Faced with a pandemic and having to send all employees home, this accounting firm had multiple needs to keep internal operations and the client communications seamless. And even under the best of circumstances, this can be a daunting nightmare with logistics, technology, and business continuity challenges to be completed in a limited amount of time.
I know, it's crazy. And if you remember back in those days, Dave, everybody was being sent home all in a matter of a short period of time. I know right now, today, we're not operating under those same guidelines and rules. Recall back in those days, trade shows were canceling, flights were being canceled, people were then being told to go home. Imagine having to run your business under those conditions where you couldn't call people up to install things or do things for you at the office.
Right. And they had to prioritize, right? So business owners were scrambling. They had to find solutions for their clients, solutions for their employees. They had to find new technology to work from home, buying up everything. I remember it was a frenzy keeping up with the demand that customers had at that time.
Yeah, I remember we had call center clients calling us. I got to send people home. I need these many hundreds of headsets and speakerphones, and they ran out quickly. I mean, you remember that. We spent hours trying to make sure a lot of our clients satisfied. Imagine clients that have tax concerns like this particular accounting firm where they're thinking about their taxes and all the other things, compliance issues that come with running a firm like this. Imagine what your mindset is thinking. And then put yourself in the position of the owner of that business, like this particular accounting firm, and how you're going to keep that going. How does it seem seamless, like we're operating in the office?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started having conversations with this particular client because we had been providing them with some other communication solutions over the years. So he trusted us and our expertise and our knowledge on how we could assist him with his goals. And I remember when we first started to uncover some of his needs, we were like, oh yeah, we can manage this for you. And he was shocked that there was going to be a solution that was going to take some of this pressure off of him.
Right. I can recall also that he had several concerns and several fears, trepidations as this was all unfolding, because I've never been through this in my lifetime where just about everybody was not available in the office. You know what? Let's put up those concerns that our buddy Andrew had. Andrew, he is a client of ours. And one of the biggest things he was most concerned about was that all his employees went home and now they no longer had access to the lifeline, Dave, of their company, which was their phone system. Clients calling them reaching out to clients. The employees having to also deal with things on behalf of those clients, like reaching out to the IRS, other state and local authorities. And so how do you do that? And you're left with this or your laptop at home. And in addition to that, Dave, he told us that one of the other things he was really afraid of was when employees started using their cell phone for business use, the employees themselves were concerned for their privacy, as well as the time they weren't working and were off the clock. They didn't want to have their personal cell phone number being reached in the middle of the night. I don't want to be called at
Right.
12 midnight or 11 or 10 or dinner time. So one of the things they wanted to know was how they could maintain that sense of separation between business and personal while still servicing the client.
Right.
And so we were able to work through that as well.
And I remember when that came up because Andrew was talking about keeping his employees' cell phone numbers private because, you know what, in his industry, there's clients that sometimes would maybe call at all hours of the night. And as a business owner, yes, of course, he has to worry about his employees' concerns, but also important to the equation are his clients. He wanted to provide an experience to his clients where it was seamless. He needed his clients to think that they were still in that physical space so that they'd have access to that same phone style queue that would find the person. And if they weren't able to get that person live, then they would still be able to leave a voicemail again under that company's voicemail system so that the employees could access that. And of course, on top of the experience for both the customer and his employees, needed to make sure that technology was going to be reliable. That was a concern for him too, is the
Right.
reliability of the technology.
Well, imagine that, Dave. You got a physical phone on your desk. You're used to picking this bad boy up, this handset.
Yep.
And now you're faced with that. You don't need that anymore, or maybe never used anything else other than the phone handset or a physical phone on your desk. That, for a lot of folks, is scary. Oh no, my computer goes down, but how can I use that for communications? Or my cell phone sometimes doesn't have coverage, or, all these things under the modus of operandi that we had at this time, right? Fear was very prominent. So it spilled over into the technology, into the remote working, into your own private life. So this was just how we were operating under that time. But, again, so that folks understand this was a real thing going on. Would the technology work? Like my thing sitting on my desk? Or maybe I'm not so sure. That VoIP thing, I don't know.
Well, and if you remember, technology aside, you and I know that we can make this happen, but he had some concerns about being 100% virtual and how that would affect the company culture. And I believe that you two had some conversations about that as well.
Today, 3 years later from when he started this journey, he can look back and say it was the best move he made. He said so himself. He should have done it 5 years prior to when they actually did it, but he is very grateful that he actually had to do it. And now is looking at a situation where he's looking at a new technology roadmap that's going to help him be in business for the next 20 more years in a way that he never imagined when he started this journey 3 years ago.
Right. And it's funny how they weren't given many options. They were forced to work virtually. He was forced to make decisions quickly and quickly realized that there was a lot of benefits to that. And so when he talks about, I wish I did it 5 years ago, he wished that 5 years prior that he took the initiative himself to do that. And he's talking about this with colleagues of his. What were some of those benefits that he had started to imagine pretty shortly after deploying his virtual office?
He said to us that he could actually close the office they had and not renew the lease, which for them freed up more cash in terms of cash flow. And depending on how many employees you have in the office, this could be a significant amount, especially, he's in the metro area. He's in the Philly market. Real estate is not cheap. I would imagine leasing is not cheap. And for a lot of folks that are in major metro areas, the lease and everything that comes with having a physical presence like his, if you can essentially unload that or unchain your business from having that monthly obligation and redeploying that cash into something else, then now a new world can open up. Maybe I can hire another employee. Maybe we can put a little bit more into marketing. Maybe we can save to do, acquisition or whatever the case, or redeploy it for enhancing technology or process. There's a lot you could do if all of a sudden that obligation is gone. And now you can focus on something else or move that cash in a way where it benefits the operation even further.
And let's face it, He's a money man.
Yeah.
So when he's talking about, I wish I did this 5 years prior, I'm sure he's looking at it financially,
And
culturally, the success of his business, the
yep.
communication with his clients. So he came to us and we went and we found him a virtual based phone system, cloud based phone system, so that they could move out of the office. They could drop desk phones if they chose to, which I believe they did. They chose to just skip out on desk phones altogether.
Yeah, and they
And then
went and upgraded and gotten the hardware so that they can actually communicate clearly with clients. They upgraded to professional style headphones and headsets, as well as speakerphones for those folks that didn't want to wear anything on their head or
Yep.
didn't have a need
Yeah.
to use a headset.
And then they started to use this virtual phone system with an application on their mobile device, on their cell phone, and also on their laptop, so that the employees could access the company's phone system via their cell without exposing their personal cell phone information. And what was nice about that was the employees working in their home offices. Now they had the virtual freedom of being part of a virtual team working from home, but also the freedom to multitask within a home office where suddenly you were running double duty. A lot of us were tending to children at home, spouses at home, animals that require our attention, but our clients, of course, still needing the attention. I remember him saying he started moving some of the fears. He said, I was quickly impressed with how seamless the integration was and that his client didn't have any downtime. Because with this new phone system, they were able to integrate an SMS or a texting setup, which, you know what, it's how people communicate today. And
Right.
he was excited to implement this. And the folks that work for him as well, they started utilizing that quickly to save time and money.
Right. And as things have moved very rapidly in the last 3 years with regards to internal communications, external communications, expectations, and clients want almost an on-demand kind of thing when it comes to communications. Who wants to be in a situation where, especially I would imagine for accountants and CPAs, you're dealing with compliance stuff, you're dealing with tax stuff, and there are things you may need an answer right now. So sometimes you don't need to call a client, give them a long explanation, just simple taxes submitted. And you can send them that text.
Yep.
Boom. The client is expecting, oh, yeah, filed. I got that text from Dave. And gets back to his other fear. It comes from the business phone number that's tied to the phone system, the virtual system that we were talking about. And now clients know, oh, it's coming from Berg Advisors in this case,
Right.
versus some spammer or my own personal phone number. And it's all tied back to their system that they can administer, they can manage, they can control without anybody physically being in an office situation.
Right. And you know what? A lot of business owners, when they're trying to outfit their team to have access to their clients via a mobile phone, we talk to a lot of people that say, listen, we actually get them their own telephone. So they have a business issued cell phone, but then they'll also have their own private cell phone. But what happens there is the same thing when you have too many applications that are overlapping.
That's right.
You're just juggling things. I like to have one device. I don't want to babysit devices and make sure that everything has a charge before I step out of the office. But of course,
Yeah.
we still need that accessibility.
Indeed, Dave, who wants to juggle 2 devices or more, I've heard in some cases, when it could all essentially work on your cell phone and can keep that nice and neat and separate so that when you're getting a business call because the app pops up. Oh, yeah, that's work related. And you can just dial right back through that. And it seems like you're sitting right in the office.
Mhm.
That's the beauty of this. And one of the things that he told us was that as now things have opened up since then, and he started going to trade shows and conferences, and he's talking to other peers in the industry in the accounting field. He told us people are amazed that his whole operation is virtual. And that's, from what he tells us, virtually unheard of in the accounting industry.
Right.
And so other folks are amazed that he could do this. He stepped out and he's trying to let other folks know you could do this. There are some fears and That's kind of what we're addressing today. Those fears of stepping out, like if you're jumping off that bungee cord, Dave, for the first time. That's why I won't do it. Leave me on the ground. I don't know about that bungee cord thing. I don't know if I want to do that, but it's essentially kind of like that. You're stepping into something you've never done before, and a lot of things can get in the way. And as you've heard me say this quite often, what gets in the way of deploying technology is not even the tech itself. It's the human factor, right? The doubts, the concerns, the fears. And along the way, a lot of these can be addressed. And in the case of Andrew and his firm, they were able to work through it. We gave them the roadmap. And now they're on the other side of this 3 years later and looking at a very different situation than when they started.
Yeah. And before we jump into that new situation, our last conversation with him was eye-opening. It was like exciting. Rolando, he said that when he's speaking with his peers about what he's been doing for 3 years, running a virtual team, probably sharing some financial aspects to what you're saving by not releasing that space. The people that he's talking to, he told us, he said they think it's magic and
Yes.
they want to see it. I get so excited working with technology when we are able to razzle dazzle the client. He wasn't sure what was possible. He came to us as an open book. He wanted to learn. He knew that there was something there, but he didn't know exactly how it was done. And when we started having the conversations with him, he started to feel better. We really took a lot of the anxiety away from him from the technology point. And at that period of time, there was, how do you prioritize? There was so many different things moving so
Yeah,
fast.
a lot of moving pieces for sure during those days because nobody knew what was next. What's going to happen? How long are we going to be in for? How long is this going to last? It's just going to go away, right? Nobody had a roadmap for that. And as time went on, sometimes it seemed like it was going to go on forever. It became clearer, I think, at some point to a lot of businesses that this could last a long time, but and this could possibly go away. But if it does, we have to be prepared for other situations that may arise where we may have to send employees home, whether it's weather related or some other emergencies. It's better to be prepared and to just have that in place so that if you have to do this again, everything, all the groundwork, all the logistics, all the technology is there to do it.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, it's a cliche saying, Rolando. If the world gives you lemons, you make lemonade out of it. He wouldn't have taken this leap into technology if he didn't get a bowl of lemons. And he could go back to the office. They found a new way to run a business virtually. And now the benefits are far outweighing any of these fears that he had on the table. He no longer has a fear about just the technology being reliable. When we spoke to him, he was real quick to say that he has not, for 3 years, has not had a single issue with technology, with the reliability of networks. Now, those are still there, and you never know what sort of natural disaster could come in and knock you out. And there are backup plans for that, for networking. We have access to that. But he hasn't had any issues. And, a lot of small businesses, that is their first issue. Where is the phone line coming from and going? And if it's in the cloud and it's virtual, what happens if the network goes down? And we were able to alleviate those fears. And just through his own personal experience, it never came up. It turned out it really was not a big issue for him.
Yeah, he doesn't miss driving into the office every day. He doesn't miss having to deal with the things that come with having a physical office either. And Dave, one of the other things that has come as a result now, again, over 36 months since he started this journey, is that because he has remote employees, he can now position his firm ahead of his competitors, or ahead of his peers in his industry, because a lot of them don't offer remote working. So now, instead of just hiring from the Philly market or the Philly area, they can hire around the country. They can hire in Iowa, they can hire in Nebraska, Montana, California, Arizona, anywhere in the country, and outfit those new recruits with the technology so that they can plug themselves right into the operation. So it's opened up a whole new world for him and his business that would have not been open had he stayed in the physical office or gone back into a physical environment where everybody's going back, return to office, so to speak.
Again, that's one of the coolest things when you start using new technology. Sometimes you find these hidden benefits that are gems. So now he has access to whole new fields of talent, a whole new pool of talent that was not accessible to him before. So essentially, he's able to save money by consolidating. And
Well, let's get
now,
into that, Dave, where he's going and how he's been able to take advantage of the technology now 36 months later since he
right.
started. Because today is a different thing than 36 months ago, both environmentally, where we are as a country, and technology-wise. Things have evolved rapidly in
Mhm.
those 3 years.
Yeah.
So now fast forward to a few weeks ago, where we have this discussion about what next. And
Yeah.
you're saying, he said, I want to consolidate. I've got too many pieces of software sitting inside the computer, all to try to do these different things that he was looking to do.
I think what was going on during that period of time is he was comfortable with trying new technology, right? So
He got comfortable. You're right. He
he
got
got,
more comfortable with the tech.
and he started exploring just more options, other tools that support virtual teams. Along with his virtual telephone system, he started using Microsoft Teams and he started using Zoom
Oh,
and, was on multiple platforms for communicating internally, different platform for communicating externally. And he was able to give his employees a chance to really expose themselves to this technology. But then after this 3 years, he followed up with them and he was able to learn what platforms his employees were using most, what were they most comfortable with, and where would they like to be in the future platform wise, and were there consolidation options. So what he did was he sat down and he was sharing the successes and the new platforms that they're using, and we were able to bring him some options that were able to do some consolidation, right?
right. And that's really important to highlight, Dave, is that discussion about what's important to the employees. Because for us as a virtual team, and we're 100% virtual, we have certain priorities that are a little different than his being an accounting firm and our needs versus his accounting firm. But very quickly, he realized after we started having those discussions, like, as the business owner, I have these needs and I need to use this platform. And some of my employees are over here doing this, and some of them are doing that. And in having that discussion with all of them, he's able to find out, yeah, we can indeed migrate and consolidate here because that's where 90% of what we do is right here. Can we get these things to exist all together? That was his thing. That would make our life a lot easier. And surprisingly, yeah, that wasn't available 3 years ago, but today
Right.
it is. You could do that. You could put all these things together. So now you're not clicking all over the place and having 500 windows open to try to keep things together.
Right. And I remember when we were in that meeting with him. So as his technology advisor, we're listening to what he needs now for the future. As he's sharing this, we're sitting there and we're like, this can be done. And it's such a great feeling being able to bring the solution to the client that the client is specifically looking for. Again, what is better than saying yes to your client? I want to consolidate and put these multiple platforms on one or two. Is that possible?
Yes.
Can't wait to tell you. Can't wait to show you.
And that was not possible 36 months ago. That's the thing. So a lot of companies are where he's at today. They have what they started with 3 or 4 years ago. And it's just there. And there are, especially with some of the times we're going through right now, Dave, everybody that is spending on technology is reevaluating. Do we really need to spend that much? Are we spending too much? Is there some waste? Where can we
Mhm.
save money? And those are the kind of discussions we've been having lately with folks. And there are many more options available in terms of customizing a solution for the needs of those folks that are either hybrid or remote or what have you, a combination of those that just didn't exist. And so it's a great time to take a look at that and say, okay, yeah, we really need this, but we don't really need that.
As business owners, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not revisiting your technology, if you're not revisiting your communications platform. You were forced to make a decision almost 3 years ago, and you didn't have a lot of time to evaluate what
Mhm.
you were moving to. A lot of people, they bought hardware, they bought software, and they started using it. But generally in this space, when folks are looking to upgrade their technology, they're planning it out. They have a rollout period. They make their own time frame. And that was not the case at the height of the pandemic. So like anything, your business insurance, your auto insurance, your different services, there's opportunities to consolidate to make it better for your employees, better for your clients, better for your bottom line.
And Dave, we had a guest on a while back ago, Sharina Kushner. She's a cloud technology specialist, and she told us that a lot of companies that came to her company during the start of the pandemic are essentially doing the same thing, in that they may have gone to the cloud in a hurry just to get things going. And going to the cloud was great, but now they're realizing maybe we're overspending in the technology area because we just did what we had to do. Whether it's cloud, whether it's on premise, equipment in the office or otherwise, it's a whole new game right now, really, because all of those companies that had something 3 years ago have all evolved to the new reality of how employees work today, how companies are functioning today. Who knew that hybrid would be a word that relates to employees working in and out of the office, right?
Right.
That wasn't a word that was thrown around a lot. Now it's thrown a lot. And I think that's kind of the direction we're going to end up in, some version of hybrid, because that works for a lot of companies where some employees are at home, some come to the office when needed. And in order to address those needs, those platforms have to work in a way that allows them to easily do their jobs, whether they're in or out of the office.
Yeah. I'm still surprised with the number of interactions I have with folks that work remotely and they're forced to use their private telephone numbers. I have a very close friend of mine that recently got a new job. It's great pay, great industry, the flexibility of working remote. And he told me that he uses his personal cell phone number. And this
Wow.
is a billion-dollar organization. And I was just blown away by that. And he's like, yeah, that's okay. So it was just from him on an employee standpoint, he's like, it's a sacrifice that I need to make. But when those clients start calling him at all hours of the night, or when those clients are calling him 5 years down the road, when he's moved away from that organization, now he gets to have that conversation. Oh, I don't work for them anymore. I think it will become an inconvenience. I wouldn't want my customers calling my personal cell phone number. Period.
No,
They don't
I
need to
like my
hear-
privacy. I like having my dinner without interruption. And it's awesome to be able to, just if you had a business card, here's my number. It rings in the office, which is a walking office, and it shuts off at 5:30 p.m. Like, it goes to voicemail. And that I can use it to send text, like if I was in the office and it comes from a business phone that
Yeah.
says company XYZ, which is kind of cool.
I started texting more clients, and I have found every time I've texted, I know that I'm saving myself voicemail tag
Mm.
to have a phone call, to have a very simple message be put through. Emails are tricky, right? I think a lot of people that work in the office, they dedicate times where they're going to check your email. They're able to segment their days where they're not living in their inbox because that's a distraction. Segment your days, get your tasks done. So with folks that are doing that, they might not go to their email. I know folks that do email twice a day, 3 times a day, first thing in the morning, during lunchtime, near the end of the day. So if
Right.
you are just trying to get a quick message to them, text might be the best way to do it.
Right. And you know what, Dave? You remind me of another client that's in the healthcare field. They kind of backed into the fact after we set them up in the cloud, they were already communicating with their patients via text message because they understood the importance of text messaging. And they told us, Is there a way for us to text message all of our clients? We were able to help them so that everything tied in back into their CRM and their phone system, all nice and neat. And they were able to communicate both individually as well as in mass with their clients, which helped them through this whole situation as well. Because for them, they already knew the game of marketing using text. They just had it living on separate systems. And
Right.
this made it all easy because all their contacts were on their computer or cell phone, and they were able to more easily and more seamlessly communicate all within their phone system so that it looked like it was coming from their business line rather than their personal numbers.
I think the B2B world of texting and how to use those services will probably be an emerging technology that we see more and more people adopting as time goes on.
No doubt. Everybody's got their cell phone with them, walking around with it. And we had a guest. Big props to Josh Hadley, who was on our show not too long ago. And he shared with us a secret that he said, you can have email marketing. You can do all that, but the open rates are just so low, no
Mhm.
matter who you talk to. There may be a couple of companies that are crushing it, but for the vast majority of businesses that are using email marketing, the open rates are very low. But not the same on text message. Text message still gets to the phone, still gets the attention, and still is way more effective at communicating with clients, getting them to provide either feedback. He told us, I get more feedback from text messages that we send to our clients via text message than email. And feedback and that sense of, do we have the right product? Do we not have the right look or feel for a design or a package or whatever, gives them very valuable insight that they normally cannot get via email. Dave, can you text clients on your computer instead of your cell phone?
Yeah, Rolando, we know this. Most people think texting has to go cell phone to cell phone. But with the SMS capability of these virtual phone systems, you can manage all of that on your PC or your laptop. Not only can you text ad hoc directly from your PC to your clients, but you can also use it as a marketing tool where you can kind of plan out a campaign and schedule a time and who will be receiving those messages. And you can do that all from your computer. You don't need to manage your texting on a mobile device just because we're saying the word texting. It's all available at your fingertips in front of your PC if that's how you like to access it.
Well, think about this, Dave. Depending on the industry that you're in, there are either events or things that happen where sending one text message to your clients or patients would be very applicable. I know that this healthcare provider, his 400 clients, if the 2 or 3 practitioners are not in the office or they go on vacation, it's very easy for all the clients to know XYZ practitioner is going to be out of the office next week because she's on vacation. Most everybody's going to see that and open it versus email. And then you got a really mad patient that drove an hour away to come see you because they forgot to open the email, right?
Or check their voicemail if they were communicating the old way of just making a phone call to the client. They actually had an issue with weather. It wasn't so much the pandemic as much as they had concerns about bad weather. So
Yeah.
when bad weather hits them, their administration team can access the phone system and communicate to clients that due to inclement weather, their appointment is canceled.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer for them. So the practitioners, they can't work remotely necessarily. That's not that kind of a virtual job, but they were still using the same technology that's available for virtual workers so that they could communicate that back to their clients, the unavailability of their meeting or cancellation of an appointment.
I remember talking to the office manager there, and she was really happy that they could basically take calls from home, something they could never do. They were forwarding calls to a voicemail and said, hey, if you need us, then XYZ do the... None of that. That went away. They could just be like sitting in their home on their cell phone or their laptop and take calls like they were sitting right in front of the computer at the reception area. And so for them, that was the game changer, that they could allow folks to work from home weather-wise if they had to, or somebody had to stay home because they didn't have somebody to take care of their kid because daycare was having an issue or whatever, or somebody was sick and they had to stay home. this is a great tool for those businesses that want to give workers flexibility. And quite frankly, Dave, the job market is heating up again, especially for knowledge-based workers. So knowledge-based workers are a hot commodity, so to speak, right now. The unemployment rate for knowledge-based workers, folks that sit at a computer and do their job, and they have a degree, have a very low unemployment rate. And there are companies competing fiercely, depending on the industry that we're talking about. Some are competing more than others to retain employees. And I'm for one, huge on remote working with the benefits that it offers the employee and the company as well. And so why wouldn't you, if you could, enable folks to work from home? A mother that's raising a kid, a mother who just gave birth to a newborn, and allow them to continue doing the work they can do from home.
And I'll tell you, the hand has been shown. If you've shown your employees that virtual work is possible with technology, and then you're trying to rope them to come back into the office, your biggest concern is the people that won't be coming back.
Yeah, I think this is here to stay, Dave. I was looking here at a survey from Upwork, and Upwork works with freelancers and all kinds of people. They're predicting that a quarter of the workforce will be permanently remote work or hybrid in some way. And there's a bunch of studies that they're citing similar types of numbers. Remote work is here to stay, people. It's not going away. And there are big companies now bringing people back into the office, but we had a survey on LinkedIn just recently. And an overwhelming majority, we put it out there, is remote working beneficial. And we got something like 90% of the respondents on LinkedIn said that it is beneficial. And we should do a follow-up about that, about would you switch employers if you were told to go back to the office? Recently, I could tell you, Amazon had the first protest internally from their own people, unheard of, that white-collar workers would protest, right? Not so much the warehouse folks are going through this whole unionization thing at Amazon. We're talking white-collar workers in Seattle protesting the return to office. I think that's just a small glimpse of what can happen 3, 4, 5 years from now as more and more folks become extremely comfortable with remote working. They want it to be part of their work. They want that flexibility. And I think companies like the accounting firm we worked with and the healthcare company that we've helped all really are benefiting on the bottom line. Dave, speaking of bottom line, there was a shark that recently came out about work from home. Mr. Wonderful said that, and I'm paraphrasing here, his bottom line is padded by allowing work from home, and that he's trying to find ways to incorporate that more inside of his operation and the vast number of companies that are under his roof, because the bottom line for him has improved with remote working. And if there is anybody from a visibility standpoint that has said over and over again, that would love Shark Tank, I love money. Do you think somebody that says I love money would do something that would make him less money?
No, that is absolutely true. And this is coming from a guy that's been saving money on his pants dry cleaning, because when he's been working from home, that shark, funny sense of humor. I don't even know if people realize that he has such a good sense of humor, but he's in his boxer shorts, which is just showing how comfortable he is. He's making it a joke, but it's spot on. It's spot on.
No. Hey, look, I don't have Kevin O'Leary's money, but I know if somebody says they love money, do you think they're going to do something that goes against that? He repeatedly says that on the show. I love money. I don't have his accent. I love money. But he said, I believe he said either 2 or 3 points margin in his bottom line. That's what the number came out. And if you operate a business, I don't know, I'm just making up a number here. I don't know if it's $100 million businesses or $500 million, 2 or 3 points in profit is significant. Even if you're a $1 million company, 1%, 1% profit, if let's just say it's 1% additional off of $1 million, 1% extra margin on $1 million, an extra $10,000 a year. So now if we're talking in the millions, and we don't know exactly how many millions of dollars Kevin O'Leary's companies generate, but it adds up because you end up saving that, Dave, in perpetuity, Dave. So that $10,000 on that million, the next year becomes 20 because you got the year one savings and year two, that's 20,000. This is real dollars. So anyhow, Kevin O'Leary, big props to you for shouting out remote work.
And you know what, Rolando, I would be interested to ask LinkedIn, maybe we should create a poll about top criteria when looking for new employment. And I would be curious in the knowledge workspace where the ability to work remotely falls.
In terms of priorities?
In terms of priority. So give them 4 different criteria. Working remotely is one of those 4. And just say, order these in order of importance to you. Everyone that I speak to about new jobs, the very first thing that comes up is, are you working remote? Where are you located? Are you back in the office? And I've been actually a part of a lot of these conversations. It's always the first thing that comes up, but I haven't put anything publicly out there, but a poll just to see where the criteria is. Because it's my theory that the first piece of criteria is working remotely. If that job is not remote, please, not interested in looking at it. Show me the job. And this would be for recruiters that are out there. Maybe we'll reach out to our friends over at Forshay.
Yeah.
Find out
Sally
more
Thornton,
about that.
big props to you.
Is the work from anywhere criteria number 1 for the employee? Is that what they're thinking about?
Yeah. No.
And if that is the case, another reason why you should be working with us so that we can show you technology to help make that happen.
Indeed. Whether you're 100% virtual or hybrid or somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Not everybody is going to go 100% virtual, Dave. And we recognize that. And I think being in the office does have some benefits if you have to meet clients there and do
of course,
conferences and demos and all the rest. Some collaboration is done a little bit better when folks are in the office. But there is a whole slew of millions of workers around the world, Dave. This is a global phenomenon that's not going back. It's not just the U.S. It's in Europe, Asia, Latin America, a global phenomenon that is not going to change. People want that flexibility to be able to go in if they need to and to work at home if they have to. You know, Dave, I'm sure that folks that have been listening to this conversation could be curious about the future of work. And, we spoke to former LinkedIn HR exec, Steve Cadigan, who is an author and wrote a book called Workquake. And Workquake seems to make him look like a modern day Nostradamus. He wrote that and released it right before the pandemic. And if you want to hear what Steve has to say about the future of work and why Fortune 100 firms are trying to convince upper management about the benefits of remote work, you'll want to go check out this episode that we got here on the screen for you. So Dave and I will see you in that episode.
Thanks for listening to What the Tech. Be sure to check out our other episodes featuring awesome tech and amazing guests. Find them on circuitloops.com or wherever you consume your favorite podcasts.